In the small town of Ellenville, New York, a horrifying tragedy shattered a family already bearing the weight of loss. A mother who fought relentlessly for justice would meet her untimely death at the hands of her own daughter. Today, we unravel the deeply tragic and complex story of Sarra Gilbert. On a summer afternoon, officers from the Ellenville Village Police Department are alerted to a missing person. What unfolds is a case marked by a series of events driven by delusional accusations, brutal killings, and unexpected ties to iconic pop stars, leaving an indelible mark. To fully comprehend the events of that fateful day, we must begin with the story of the Gilbert family, a story of strength, love, and unbearable heartbreak. Scene 1. The Gilbert family's journey. The Gilbert family lived in Ellenville, a small town in upstate New York. Mary Gilbert was a single mother raising 4 daughters: Shannon, Sheree, Sarah, and Stevie. Despite limited resources, she worked tirelessly to provide for her family. But their lives were far from simple. The Gilbert family endured financial struggles, emotional challenges, and personal setbacks. Each of the 4 sisters faced unique hurdles growing up, but Sarah, the second youngest, struggled the most. In 2010, tragedy struck when Shannon Gilbert, the eldest sister, went missing. Her disappearance would later be linked to the infamous Gilgo Beach murders, a case that exposed the horrifying truth of a serial killer. However, Shannon's own cause of death remains a mystery. Sarra Gilbert became a vocal advocate for her daughter and the other victims. Her fight for justice brought national attention to the case, but it also weighed heavily on her family. Scene 2. Sarah's struggles with mental illness. As the Gilbert family grappled with Shannon's loss, Sarah's mental health began to deteriorate. By her early 20s, she was diagnosed with schizophrenia, a serious mental illness characterized by delusions, hallucinations, and severe mood disturbances. Schizophrenia is a complex disorder that often requires lifelong management. Left untreated, it can lead to behaviors that are erratic, unpredictable, and sometimes dangerous. Psychiatrist added, Sarah's symptoms began to dominate her daily life. She reported hearing voices and developed paranoid delusions. Her illness isolated her from her family and community, despite her mother's tireless efforts to help. On July 1st, 3 weeks prior, Officer Bill responded to a call at Our Aid Pharmacy regarding Sarah, who was attempting to fill a prescription for her 6-year-old son, Hayden. The pharmacy staff informed Sarah that the medications had been sent to another pharmacy, but she refused to leave the store without receiving them. After initial attempts to escort her out of the store failed, dispatch officers took Sarah into custody and transported her to Kingston Hospital. Scene 3. The tragic incident. On the afternoon of July 23, 2016, 52-year-old Sarra Gilbert has been missing for approximately 3.5 hours. As her daughter, Sheree, reports her disappearance to authorities, an ominous sense of unease begins to settle over the scene. On July 23, 2016, Sarra Gilbert received a call from Sarah, asking her to visit her apartment. Unbeknownst to Sarah was in the grip of a violent psychotic episode. What happened next was beyond comprehension. In a delusional fit of rage, Sarah attacked her mother, Mari, stabbing her over 227 times and striking her repeatedly with a fire extinguisher. Sheree is speaking to the police about her 27-year-old sister, Sarra Gilbert. In her statement, Sheree explains that earlier that morning, Sarah had called her and mentioned hearing voices. She described Sarah as sounding disconnected, almost robotic, with no emotional response. When questioned, Sarah claimed she acted under the influence of voices that told her Mari was a demon. This was not the first time authorities had been called to this home. 5 months earlier, on February 19, 2016, officers responded to a deeply disturbing report from Sarra Gilbert. On December 3, 2021, new details surfaced about Sarra Gilbert's earlier actions, incidents that had largely gone unnoticed at the time, in addition to the February 2016 tragedy where Sarra drowned her pet puppy in front of her son, believing it was the rapper Eminem trying to harm her. Officers discovered another unsettling event from 2016. In this separate incident, Sarra accused her mother, Mari Gilbert, of poisoning her. This unfounded accusation further highlighted Sarra's severe mental health struggles. Evidence also revealed that after drowning the puppy, Sarra purchased a knife, took her son to the woods, showed him the knife, and warned, "Don't tell anybody what Mommy did." Sarra's story connects to her sister, Shannon Gilbert, who went missing on May 1, 2010. Shannon's remains were discovered 19 months later on December 13, 2011, in a marsh near Oak Beach. The search for Shannon led authorities to uncover the remains of 10 other missing women, sparking intense media attention and placing the Gilbert family under the public spotlight. The officer's seemingly unusual question was directly tied to the reason for their visit. He continued pressing Sarra for more information. In another room, Lieutenant Mike searched for the missing dog, as Sarra's mother had reported a horrifying incident involving the puppy. Despite searching, Lieutenant Mike found no signs of the animal. Meanwhile, Sarra asked to speak with him about her concerns. As officers grew increasingly frustrated, they confronted Sarra about the purpose of their visit. "Where's the dog?" While officers escorted Sarra to the patrol car, dispatch received a request from the police station. Sarra has a 6-year-old son, Hayden, with her boyfriend, Manny. Soon, Manny would reveal distressing details about both Hayden and the puppy. For now, Lieutenant Mike placed Sarra in the patrol car as officers documented evidence through photographs. After photographing the deceased puppy in a trash bag, officers went to the bathroom where Sarra had drowned the animal earlier that morning, only to make yet another horrifying discovery. While Lieutenant Mike drove Sarra to the police station, she made unsettling comments that provided some insight into her attack on the dog. Although Sarra did not provide a clear explanation, her boyfriend, Manny, shared additional details in an interview conducted nearly a year later. It should be noted that Manny's opinions are his own and have not been independently verified. During her arraignment a week later, on February 28, 2016, Sarra stated, "He wasn't in the bathroom with me when I did it. While the exact details of what transpired in the bathroom may never be fully known, it is evident that the animal suffered a brutal and torturous end." At the station, Sarra was met by her mother, Mari, who had reported the case. Before leaving, Mari made a comment to her daughter, a remark that would have chilling consequences 5 months later. For intentionally drowning her son's dog, Sarra was charged with aggravated cruelty to animals, unlawful possession of a controlled substance, endangering the welfare of a child, and violating mental health laws. A month later, on March 9th, 2016, Sarra was sent to the Mid-Hudson Forensic Psychiatric Center for a 35-day evaluation. After being deemed fit to stand trial, she was remanded to the Ulster County Jail, where she attempted to convince her mother to post the $10,000 bond in late April. Their conversation quickly turned sour when Mari realized Sarra had given her false information about the bond payment. Eventually, Mari decided to post bond for her daughter, getting her out of jail 2 months after the incident on April 22, 2016. 3 months later, officers were called to the Gilbert residence again, this time to investigate Mari's whereabouts. In a later statement, Elroy described what he saw through the open window. "I saw Mari lying there, covered in blood. I think she was face down on her belly, her head near the window. It was hard to tell because it was dark. After discovering Mari's body lying on the living room floor, officers scrambled to secure the scene and gather information from the family. However, This task proved difficult given the gravity of the situation. As Officer Gonzalez worked to calm everyone down, Officer Bell contacted his supervisor to report the horrifying incident. Officer Bell returned to the door he had been pounding on just moments earlier. This time, he didn't knock. What officers found inside, however, was beyond anything they could have anticipated. Although Sarra eventually admitted to killing her mother, this was only the beginning of a long series of unsettling reactions. Investigators were still far from uncovering the shocking motive behind the heinous act. Officer Gonzalez rushed outside to move the family back to a safe distance. None of them had yet seen what was inside. Meanwhile, back inside the house, Officer Bell read Sarra her Miranda rights. Sarra then made another baffling statement. Despite Sarra's claim that her mother was still alive, Officer Bell had serious doubts after finding Mari's body cold to the touch. Moments later, Lieutenant Mike arrived to assess the situation. As they stood in the kitchen, Officer Bell prepared to confirm the group's worst fears. While the officers were overwhelmed by the sheer brutality of the crime scene, the findings of the medical examiner's autopsy would prove to be even more shocking. As Officer Gonzalez struggled to make sense of Sarra's perplexing statements, she pressed her for more information. A short time later, Sarra is escorted by her officers outside where her family awaits to confront her. Officer Gonzalez drives the 2-minute journey to the police station without any issues, but as they enter the building, Sarra makes a request. Still unaffected by the harm she caused to her mother and family, Sarra continues to focus on trivial details. Officer Gonzalez notices additional scratches and signs of struggle on Sarra's body, but the full sequence of events will only be revealed once detectives are able to speak with her. As Sarra heads to the restroom, Officer Gonzalez is about to make a mistake. Realizing they may have lost crucial DNA evidence, Officer Gonzalez promptly informs the sergeant. When Officer Gonzalez allows Sarra to use the restroom again, she keeps a closer watch on her. Her attention to detail pays off when she notices something disturbing. As the officers wait for the detectives inside the police station, Sarra grows impatient. Finally, the interrogation begins. Detective Jacobs reads Sarra her rights and immediately cuts to the point. Even though Sarra may have confessed to the killing multiple times by this point, it's her twisted motive that leaves the detective in shock. An autopsy later reveals that Sarra stabbed her mother 227 times, struck her with a fire extinguisher, and forced foam into her mouth. At one point during the attack, Sarra even took a cigarette break before resuming her assault. While Sarra might admit to these acts, the reasons behind such brutality remain unclear. Sarra's statement helps Detective Jacobs confirm that the crime was premeditated, but he still needs to uncover the motive. Back in the interrogation room, detectives begin piecing together the events, but Sarra's bizarre statements make it nearly impossible. Later, Sarra explains that the song she refers to is "That's All She Wrote," released in 2010 and performed by T.I. and Eminem. While Eminem mentions a person named Sarra in the lyrics, it is clearly not her. Despite this, Sarra desperately tries to make the detectives understand her point of view. A final glimpse into Sarra's troubled mind comes from her personal diary, where she writes, "Now it's my turn to play. At the stroke of midnight, all black eyes will die no matter what beads they hide inside. Look what I've done just to have fun. Now there goes our dirty laundry. Husband and wife back again to reunite. May you enjoy your time in hell until we reunite in another life." Despite Sarra's insistence on her musical theories, authorities recognize that she can justify her brutal actions by blaming anyone in her life due to psychosis. In August of 2017, Sarra was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 25 years to life in the New York State Department of Correctional Services. Scene 4. The Trial and Aftermath. Sarra Gilbert's trial drew attention to the intersection of mental illness and criminal justice. The defense argued that her schizophrenia rendered her unable to understand her actions, while the prosecution emphasized the brutality and premeditation of the attack. This crime was not a spontaneous act. Sarra Gilbert made deliberate decisions leading up to the murder of her mother. Prosecutor added, "The tragedy left the Gilbert family broken. For Sherry and Stevie, the loss of both their mother and sister was incomprehensible. My mom gave everything to this family. Losing her in such a horrific way, there are no words for that kind of pain." Scene 5. Legacy and Lessons. Mari Gilbert's legacy is one of resilience and advocacy. Her relentless fight for justice inspired countless others and brought attention to the plight of families affected by violence. The verdict brought a measure of closure to a family and community devastated by loss, but questions about the intersection of mental illness and the criminal justice system. As the fight for justice continues, the Gilbert family's legacy is not one of despair, but of resilience, an unwavering commitment to ensure that no voice goes unheard and that every victim is seen, heard, and remembered.